Greetings, everyone. My name is Gary Baumgarten. Many of you know me as Reporter Gary, and I am talking to you today about an issue that I have been wrestling with for a long time. And it's one that I really have been avoiding discussing publicly, although with my closest confidants, it has bothered me so much that I have discussed it privately. And what I'm about to tell you is relatively anecdotal, but I'm concerned that perhaps, although it's anecdotal, it may be representative of a greater feeling among certain individuals in our nation today. And that has to do with not just the political divide, which we all recognize, but the racial divide, which some people suggest may be a natural outgrowth of the political divide that we have. Now, I am not astute enough in this area to be able to suggest to anyone that there is a cause and effect that I can actually prove. And so I'm not going to go that far. But I want to talk to you about an acquaintance of mine who has more recently shown his avowed racism more publicly than he ever did in the past. Now, you may say to me, Gary, how could an acquaintance of yours, somebody that you considered a friend, and I use the term acquaintance today, but I will acknowledge that I referred to him as a friend until recently. How could you be a friend with somebody who is an avowed racist? And the simple answer is he didn't reveal, pardon the pun, his true colors until recently. And he began saying things that I found disturbing and that I challenged, but he was my friend. So I felt he's a grown man. I don't need to forget about our history together and disavow my relationship with him as he challenged me further and further, and his true expressions of racism began to he felt more comfortable expressing them until finally, he really challenged me recently, and he called me a traitor to my race. I said, what? How am I a traitor to my race? And he said, well, you never use the N-word. And I said to him, hey, we've discussed this many times. I've told you I do not feel comfortable with that term. I am not in a position to tell you that you can't use that word, but I am uncomfortable with it, and I will not utter it. Maybe in a quote, potentially. If I'm discussing Mark Furman, I might point out that he used the N-word, but even then I don't think I would actually use the word. Maybe I would, but I would feel uncomfortable using it. I would just say the N-word while referring to it. And you could say, oh, Gary, you're copping out. When you say the N-word, everybody knows what you are referring to, and that's true. But as a white person, I feel uncomfortable using the word given the history of it. But at that point, when he accused me of being a traitor to my race because I wouldn't use the N-word, and he went on to talk about people of color, not just black people, but Hispanic people. And it got to the point where I just had to say to him, look, you and I, we just can't associate with one another. But let me just say that one of the things that he espoused that I've been wrestling with a long time, and again, cautionary note, this is anecdotal, this is one individual, but I fear that he may be representative of a collective type of thinking that's going on today. And by the way, I have pretty well studied a lot of the questionable sites on the internet where there's a lot of anti-Semitism, a lot of racism, a lot of Islamophobia that people feel comfortable posting on these sites. Hint, hint, they're all called Chan sites. So you probably know to which sites I refer. So I've seen some of what he has said to me in person, espoused anonymously on the internet. So I think he's maybe representative of more people than I actually realize. And this is what has me concerned. Because he is an advocate of a race war in the United States of America. Now, again, I am not here to suggest that a race war is imminent, but I am here to suggest that there are those individuals out there who actually welcome a race war. They welcome one. And he said, we'll see where your loyalties are if a race war occurs. He says it's time for white people to rise up and attack. I don't know how far down the line he wants to go. For sure, black people. I know that he dislikes anybody who's Spanish speaking. I know he dislikes anybody who speaks Portuguese. I know that I have actually heard him slip and say things that maybe he didn't realize or other people didn't recognize as anti-Semitic, that I, as a Jew, found anti-Semitic. This is a progression in our relationship that leads me to where we are today. But I'm just wondering, because I saw an article in Politico that dates back to what the authors say is the genesis of the AltRight movement, the massacre of some communists in Greensboro. I think it was back in 1979, and I think about that in more recent events where somebody died at a rally when they were run over by an avowed white supremacist. I look at, again, many of the things that are being posted anonymously on the internet. I look at the resurgence of anti-Semitism in this nation and around the world. I am getting to the point where I am beyond wanting to be a chronicler of these events, and maybe I feel that my responsibility is to be a little bit of an alarmist. Now, the term alarmist maybe has negative connotations, but a person who sounds the alarm is an alarmist, right? I think that's the proper definition. Anyways, as you can tell, I am wrestling with this. Normally when I come to you, I'm pretty spot on with my thinking. I believe that my thinking right now is evolving. I will have to say that I have great concerns about some of the things that I've been reporting on. And I think to my acquaintance, former friend, as an example, and I'm wondering how many more people there are like this. Now, I'm not mentioning him by name because he told me these things privately, but I'm sure there's a good chance that he's going to see this, and I'm sure that if he sees this, he may want to rebut this, and I would welcome a discourse. I would love to have this discussion with you, my acquaintance, which I'd be happy to post on YouTube for people to judge for themselves. But I'm not going to call you out by name because you didn't ask to be called out publicly by name. Okay, those are my thoughts. What are yours? I would love for you to comment below. Please give this a thumbs up if you agree with it. If you think I'm full of hooey, give me a thumbs down. That's fine. That's your prerogative. If you're not already subscribed, I would appreciate it if you do subscribe to the channel. And with that, I bid you adieu with peace out.